Welcome to the International Teacher Podcast with your host, Matt the Family Guy, Kent the Cat Guy, Jacqueline from JPMint, and Greg the Single Guy, bringing you episodes from around the world about the best kept secret in education. You've got it, international teaching. Welcome to the show.
Hey folks, welcome to the International Teacher Podcast. I'm JPMint and we are celebrating our 3rd year anniversary. So the boys decided I should do the intro. I should learn how to do the intro. Hopefully you guys are not tuning out thinking, where's Kent the Cat Guy and where's Greg the Single Guy? But we have them both here today. Hi guys.
Hey JPMint.
Hey JP, how you doing? Good intro, thank you.
Woo! My first one. I was so nervous. I studied in the mirror 7,000 times just to make sure it was crystal clear.
In between WhatsApp messages. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, you
Happy
know,
3rd anniversary, everyone.
Happy 3rd
anniversary.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago today that Matt Judd said to me, "Hey, Greg, let's do a podcast." And that was right around the same time Kent's like, "Hey, I think we should look at podcasting equipment," right? And then a little bit after that, Kent came along and Matt sort of faded away, but Kent came along and saved us. And for the next 2 years, we were doing that. And then JP, you came along, and after interviewing twice with us, you became one of our co-hostesses, which is fantastic. I
Best
love you
Mood
guys.
podcast is made, JPMint.
I still want to know, if I hadn't been listening to Making the Grade, would I have had that formal invitation? Because as it turns out, I got invited in another podcast and I was like, wait, is this still accurate? Because you recorded it in June. I heard nothing of an invitation until September when I was listening to it.
We had already decided on you joining us without telling you, so we just broke the news to you a little bit later.
So anyway, listeners, I tell you what, we've had a great time. We're up to probably 85 episodes. Coming up, we have probably at least another 5. So we do have about 90 episodes as we're recording this.
So this is the countdown to 100.
Thank
Countdown
you, Kent
to
and
100.
JP, and all of
Thank
our
you, Greg.
listeners, my mom, right? She tried.
Hey, my mom's
originally
now
was-
listening.
You know what? Your two moms make up 50% of our audience, so thank you. Kudos to them.
You know, I invited her to come on the show tonight, Kent. I invited her to join us, but
What did
she's
she
not
say?
feeling well. She's not feeling well. She has
Well,
vertigo.
maybe she'll come on later. Maybe she'll come on another time.
Yeah, that's true. I'll try and get her
Mama
on.
Pat.
But you know what? We have so many great interviews, right? I love it. We've had interviews with teachers all along the way across hundreds of countries. We have 120 countries represented from our listeners. We've got a website that's been going well. We've linked in JP's blog with our website. We have been talking with educators going global, right? Guys, what else off the top of your head? 3 years, what do you think?
This year we've got a Facebook group so people can join and kind of see the behind the scenes photos of the recording and process. Oh, speaking of which, photo time. Everybody look, it's selfie time.
So listeners, we have to do this every once in a while. We have to have, and Kent's got balloons.
I got balloons. I don't know
Yay!
this whole animations thing. Did you get the picture?
Yeah.
I did get
Greg
the
wasn't
picture
ready.
without
Greg
the
wasn't
balloons.
ready. He still looks the same.
Greg sometimes puts his hand up in front of his face. Yeah, we have 60 fans, including myself. I include myself in there because I'm a big fan of ITP. We have 60 fans in the Facebook group, so feel free to to join in on that group, and I have a little bit of a doorkeeping method just to keep the spam bots out. So so people can easily join. Don't be daunted when you're asked what is your favorite episode. That's usually left out blank for some reason.
Actually, I think Kent added like 40 anonymous members to that Facebook group, and I added like 25 more. So there's probably only like 3 people in the group.
Listen, I don't want to put any pressure on anyone, but I would like to throw out a couple of my favorite episodes from just the last year, as long as we're celebrating an anniversary. So one of the episodes I was not on, which is one of my favorites this year, is Sharon the Guide Hog.
Oh yeah. Shout out to Sharon.
Shout out to Sharon the Guide Hog. I love that episode. And I think that she hit on something that everyone who travels the world won't admit, but they'll do. They'll get into power struggles with the other tourists. They'll get into power struggles with the guide. They'll take their time. And everyone does that, and she's just the first one to admit it.
So true. That was a fun episode.
Yeah, Sharon is so well traveled that she's definitely a mentor for me in her travels and her longevity in certain schools. You know, she encouraged me to just stay a little bit longer, get your roots a little bit deeper.
One more shout out, and I think, help me remember, JPMint, this is your friend that's in, she is in, it's not Kuala Lumpur, is it? It's maybe Myanmar? One of the cuts, she went through like the 3 revolutions. She was in
she's
Africa,
in Nigeria, Debbie.
In Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
What was her name again?
Debbie's in Nigeria. She was in Istanbul,
in Nigeria.
And then Myanmar, and then, and now Nigeria. And
I just love that because she talks about, and I think this is so true of international teachers, is she talks about the places that there are real struggles, and that, you know, in the moment there could be a lot of stress, but really she talks about there's a certain level of, I don't want to call it joy because there's real problems in some of those countries, but a certain level of pride for, you know, being there, seeing things, history happen in countries firsthand, and, you know, making it, getting out and then talking about it. And almost, you know how international teachers are when they go through those rough periods, they can look back with a certain wisdom and growth in those experiences.
Yeah, the camaraderie that we feel as international teachers when we go through struggles together, I'm sure that her relationships are solidified in cement now with having gone through those very turbulent times. And yeah, I love Debbie. She and I still chat almost on a weekly basis, just checking in. And I'm happy to say one of my clients is heading again this year to Abuja, to her school. So it's almost like Abuja is a home beacon for JPMint clients.
Home of the JPMint client, Abuja. Come join us. I love that. So those are 2 of I have many favorite episodes. I loved Mark Webber, and that was unfortunately, that was the one, that episode was the one that inspired Greg to pay for the internet. So it was JPMint and Mark Webber, sort of the expert down in Latin America, and I really enjoyed. So if I had to pick 3, and that's not to leave anyone out. I mean, there's just no way you could pick. I guess I would pick all the episodes, but those are 3 for me.
So I get one
Greg,
too.
what are
then
some highlights?
Yeah, I was going to say I get one too, and this goes back to a conversation I had about 2 days ago with my mom. I was on the phone on video trying to get her to join us for an episode, and she's not feeling well, so I hope she feels better. But she was like, Greg, I was in bed all day long for like 9 hours, and all I did was listen to the International Teacher Podcast. And I was like, oh my God. She's like, I could just sit there and listen to it like radio. I had no idea that it will just play one episode after the other. And I said, well, which ones were you listening to, Mom? She goes, well, my favorite, Greg, is the one that you have that friend that goes bicycling all over he's been to like 150 countries. And I'm like, oh, you mean Graydon? Yeah, he's a friend of mine I taught with in Egypt. And she's like, oh, really? oh, well, I loved that episode. I felt he has been so many places. I feel like I'm just there. And I'm like, that's great. You know, that my mom can get a little entertainment out of it. She's followed us for a long time, but she obviously forgot that she's already heard a lot of the early episodes. She went back and started at like, number 1. So anyway, it is a joy to go back and listen to old episodes. That's probably one of my favorites. I do enjoy several of them, and that's just one out of probably 90 that I enjoyed the most.
She didn't mean to listen to us. She just didn't know how to turn it off. It just kept going.
The autoplay button was
The
just up
autoplay
there.
just kept going.
JP, how about you?
Oh my gosh. My favorites are the ones with my friends. You know, just getting to reunite with them on reunite? Is that a word? Yes.
Yeah. Well, look at the song Reunited because it feels so good.
I was thinking reunionite or something. I had to say something like that. But yes, when the episodes we get to reunite on air, and they get to meet you guys, and I get to watch that interaction happen. Those are definitely my favorites right now.
Got it.
Great.
There's so many to choose from.
Fantastic. Hey,
and something new this year, something new in this third year is that we started, and I don't know how long it's gonna work, and it's almost like we don't want to jinx it by talking about it, but we have been doing almost weekly episodes, and that has been so special. I know for a lot of our listeners who reach out to us and say how much they love the weekly uploads. But as I say, I don't want to jinx it by talking about it, but this has been very special in this third year.
And that a lot of credit goes to JPMint for keeping this project on track each week. You know, Greg does a lot of the work behind the scenes, but JPMint, a lot of credit goes to you. We've talked to a lot of people that are friends and acquaintances of yours, so big shout out to you for that.
Yeah.
Well,
thanks,
big
boss.
shout out to Greg for working tirelessly every weekend to edit those episodes. So
I don't edit all of them.
Kent, you did
does
some editing.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kent did some
Yeah,
editing
I'll jump
this
in
year as well.
sometimes. I'll jump in sometimes when the backlog gets big.
He's busy with his other podcast called Just to Know You, and that's a little bit different. That's a whole different podcast that he's behind the scenes working on instead of hosting. Like he just reserves us.
I want to plug Just to Know You for just a second. We just
Go for
got
it.
done interviewing a teacher who's been overseas for 50 years. And he is retiring this month after spending 50 years here in the same desert as Greg and I. And we were really happy to capture a voice of just experience and wisdom like that before he retires from the profession and returns back to the States. So
He's a great guy too.
you know, and
Great
that's what's special about podcasts, and is it captures pieces of history that when they're gone, and the voices of the people that we've talked to today on this podcast, the 85 odd people, not that they're odd, but 85 almost podcasts. It's people will be able to listen to those for years to come and get that wisdom.
I love it. We don't know what to do without a guest. Oh my God.
well, listen, here's,
Switch
before we
gears,
talk,
baby.
we talk about the other big event this last year, which is your book and JP's website, predictions, things that you would like to see in the upcoming year. I mean, JP has already said, we're going to try to keep to that very ambitious once a week schedule, but any other predictions, wishes, or dreams for the next year?
I'll go ahead. I think going into our next year, I think at some point this year, Kent, you and JP and Matt, they're going to talk me into going on video. I think that's about time that we start going towards video. I think maybe after our centennial, I would like to publicly agree that we should probably start doing video vodcasts, right, as well as audio. We'll keep in the audio set, but I find that hard to say. But yeah, I have a face for radio, as Matt said once early on in the podcast. He and I both have faces for radio, but you and JP are just beautiful people. So we'll put you guys on there, and I'll put up like a little Where's Waldo picture or something like that instead of me.
No. If we're going video, we're all going video. Because
We're all going video.
I think it could definitely open some new listeners that are not listeners but watchers, right? So we have, as you've pointed out, a ton of countries out there listening to us on the podcast app. But then, branching out into video, we could possibly get some new watchers and listeners.
The only problem is then the governments might be able to, put two and two together and find my face, right? They might not let me in that country, Who knows? Oh my God. That's the guy. That's the guy's voice. We see him now.
They already know who you are, buddy. They already know, and they still let you in, which, maybe they wish they didn't, but they will.
And letters of apology being drafted.
Letters of apology will be drafted. I'm already printing them. JP, I'm printing those letters right now. Listen, I don't mean to cut you off, JP, on your wishes and dreams. I would like to do a live stream with some Q&A one of these years.
Oh, yes.
Where our fans, and since we have fans all over the world, there'll be some fans just like you, JP. It'll be morning time. Some fans will be in our neck of the woods. It'll be evening time. But I would love to try it sometime. And maybe our Facebook, we can organize that with the faithful, what was that, 65 again? How many we got on that Facebook page?
Yeah, around 60, 65, yeah.
Not
So,
bad
right,
for
so
like
folks,
2 months or something like that, right?
This is a chance for the loyal ITP listeners. Get on that web page, get on that Facebook page, because one of these days this year, we might announce a live stream. We'll see.
So how would we do that? Like Facebook Live? Because I've never done one of those. Have you?
I think it's right through Riverside, right through our
We will
current
work
software.
it out, JP. We will work it out, boss.
Woo-hoo. That's why you guys make the big bucks. Because I don't have to worry about the technical stuff.
Okay, so that's some predictions for the next year. JP, can we plug Greg's book for a few minutes?
Yes, absolutely. I'm happy to say I finished it yesterday. It was like homework. I needed to finish it before this episode.
Thanks.
And
Appreciate that.
It was fantastic.
What a piece of shit, but I had to read it by now.
No.
I
Never
love
read
this
that
word.
thing.
Halfway through, I was writing Greg. I was like, I am so enjoying this, and I want to see where it goes. And then I finished it yesterday with a lot of resources at the end, a lot of books that I'm going to add to my book list to put out there so that people that want to know more. Like Greg is so generous. He doesn't just want people to read his books. He wants people to read all the books. So he gave this long, long list of books that people can read to know a little bit more about the best kept secret in education, international teaching.
I 100%, before I ask Greg an actual question here, I do want to say that list of websites about the best kept secret in international education and the list of books, they're worth twice the price of the price on the cover of that book. So if you buy this book, and one of these days we'll tell you the title.
When
of it.
you buy the book.
When you buy this book, if you flip right to the back and find those lists, you will see that it's money well spent.
Appendices. I like that word. Appendices.
So Greg, your first book was called Finding the Right Fit. And we're not going to talk about that now. Your brand new book, available on Amazon, www.amazon.com, or wherever you buy your finer books. It's called International Teaching, the Best Kept Secret in Education. Could you tell JP and I and the ITP crowd what inspired you to write a second book?
Let me just start by saying thank you for saying the title correctly finally after 20 episodes. You got my name right, and it's not like doctor of something. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, Kent. The reason that I wrote this second book, in a way, was it was a challenge, and I have a couple reasons for that challenge. Number one, it started with the fact that I had a lot more to say than my first book. My first book was very personal. It was based on especially getting into job fairs to get that niche of like, here's information, what actually happens at multiple different fairs. And the second part, well, I mean, I have a lot more to say about international education besides just job fairs. It was also a chance to shout out more information from the internet, because the second challenge was, can I do it in 3 days? So the first book I wrote, right? And I'll explain that a little bit. The first book that I wrote was from the heart, all me, and I put like thousands of dollars into it, actually, when you have an editor, a professional editor. And it took years because it was based on my experiences. So over 20 years, I wrote that book. It took about a year to get it edited and published, and all that process of professionally getting a book out from manuscript to editing, cover design, etc. Then publish. You get to see what the preview looks like. You change the cover, you modify things, and every one of those steps of the way before you sort of say, I'm done, and put it on Amazon. So that first book was a long process. I had the challenge of doing that in 3 days with AI, and that kind of a challenge was difficult, was interesting, because it just came from a discussion that I had with our boss, and he's like just jokingly saying, hey, do you know, what about AI, Greg? And I was like, man, it's just, everyone's asking the question, what about AI in education? And I'd never done anything, so I decided I would write a book within 3 days. We had Thanksgiving weekend, right? So that's the reason did the two reasons I did this book.
And so 3 days, can you step us through what did that look like with AI's assistant?
Well, what I did was, and not to go too deep into it, but basically leading up to that, I had read probably about 10 to 15 books about prompt engineering, which is where you develop questions to put forth to the AI, whatever choice of tool that you use. So these computers don't just write everything for you. You have to know the right questions to ask, and I didn't know the process for that. So I read like 10 books, 15 books. And then on that weekend, basically from 6 o'clock in the morning until about 6 o'clock at night, I was sitting at Starbucks saying hi to people, but I was just engineering all the questions. So that AI helped me out. I used ChatGPT-4. I paid $20 for a whole month, but I was going to use it for 3 days. Got on there and I sort of engineered and asked a lot of questions to get the structure of the book, to collect information from sources, and basically I guided the AI throughout the internet with questions of structure and writing, okay? That first day was basically prompt engineering and gathering all the information and having it help me write out first draft chapters. So then the second day was all me, just me writing, adding my own touch to it. It didn't have a lot of personal information, so this is just like gathering meta information from the internet. But I wanted to arrange it and give it a little bit of my own voice because it wasn't doing a good enough job of that. The third day was formatting myself, just going through and formatting the book with something called Kindle Create, which is a free app that Kindle gives you. So I dropped all of my manuscript from like Microsoft Word, put it into this thing, and it took me pretty much from 6 o'clock till 3 o'clock in the afternoon to format. And then I had to take a break, and then that evening around 6 o'clock till about 10, I had to figure out how to do a cover. I had to figure out how to get the cover just right enough, and then go through the process of putting a book onto Amazon. Then it was done that night. So that's the process, the first 3 days. That was it. From idea, basically from zero to hero, right? That boom to boom in 3 days. And that was the goal because I spent $20, not thousands, and I got through the process. Okay?
Let me say a few words about the content there. You know, back in 1998, an old-timer in international education named Michael Bradley took me aside even before I was a certified teacher and told me some of the secrets of international education. And it was sort of this one-on-one advice passed on from veteran to rookie. In some ways, this book reminds me of that veteran teacher sitting in front of me, talking to me about what the life of an international teacher is like. And I think it is so valuable because now anybody who, without access to all those old timers, could sit down with your book and learn many of those secrets. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. I guess my response to that is I'm glad that it came out that way, and it wasn't going to happen that way just by using AI. My second book is based on years of experience that I've been overseas. I was sort of guiding the AI through the writing and formation process, but I had to vet all that stuff in there and try and add things to make sure that it passed muster with me. Because there's a lot of crap on the internet too. There's a lot of falsities out there. We've seen lots of different negative stuff about teaching, and there's tons of it out there that was coming through the AI. And you have to get rid of that. So I appreciate that, Kent. And that was the goal of this too, is to give like a veteran point of view.
Yeah, I totally agree. When I was reading it, I was hopeful. I mean, being like Kent and you guys, the veteran international teacher, I was still learning new things. I was still seeing new ways of looking at certain parts of the international education. I just appreciated how well laid out it was. You know, it's very easy to find the information you need. Let's say, you know, someone picking up the book for the first time says, well, I know about this and this, but I really need to know more about this. They can easily search and get through to that chapter that's going to speak right directly to them. I think you did a fantastic job. It comes away with like a hopeful sense. I feel like it was very hopeful and very positive about international education. It makes me want to go back on the circuit almost.
Almost.
Almost. I do really love my life here in Mexico. I don't really want to go out there, but it did give me a bit of that travel bug again of, you know, the discovery of the unknown, the discovery of new cultures, new languages, and getting to know people. But yeah, I think that it was for a book created and written in 3 days, it does not give that sense at all. It's the go-to book for somebody considering taking that step, and how do they do it. It's really a how-to manual on getting out there.
And it's such a big subject, right? That's why the AI really helped me. It augmented what I wanted to write. So even though I don't say I wrote this book, it's more like I had to engineer this book, collect all the information. It's not my personal point of view, although my opinion resonates through it, because I was the one sifting through the information. But the AI helped me do the structure of the book. I mean, imagine sitting down and saying, I want to write, and I've done it 100 times, I want to write another book about international education. But I couldn't really pinpoint and get myself motivated enough to get through the structure of the chapter titles and stuff like that. So I think AI, and this is the hopeful part, is that AI will help augment good authors, better authors than me. I mean, hopefully it'll augment what people are doing rather than take the place of humans. It's going to augment what we're doing. And that's what it allowed me to do in 3 days.
Greg, you say this is not a personal account of international education, but it feels very personal to me. It feels like even though many of the stories use hypothetical people and hypothetical teachers to make your points, it still feels like you're honoring the teachers that you've known and the people that you've worked with through podcasting, through job fairs, other authors, people you've taught. It feels like you're really honoring those people.
Well, I hope so. And I guess, Kent, what I'm saying is that it's not as personal. I'm comparing it to my first book, and I can't help but do that. The first book was purely, like even the second half of my first book was all personal stories, right? This book is much different. It's a takeaway for me because it has to be personal since it was me engineering it. But it wasn't me in a personal sense of exactly what happened to me at the job fair or what happened to me in different countries like my first book. So I appreciate what you're saying. I'm glad that it comes across that way. What I was really fearful of is that if I wrote with the help of AI, that I would lose the personal touch, that personal voice. And that's what I hope still comes through. It sounds like it successfully did for you, Kent. And hopefully, JP, it comes through that way also, because that is an honor to all of the other people in our profession, right? And to get new ones out in our profession, like our podcast. Mm-hmm. So thank you.
Great. Yeah. Did you want to tell JP and I just one of your favorite parts of the book before we wrap up?
I don't know. I think my favorite part was the very beginning and the very end. And the very beginning of it was a dedication, and I had to do dedication, so I chose to dedicate it to you guys, and then to dedicate it also to my mom and dad, and then to AI. So it's a technology test, right? I was trying something out that was brand new, but it's in honor of all the things that we talk about on this podcast. Matt and you and I and JP, all four of us really have so many guests and so many things that we're sharing. This book is sort of like that extra piece. It's a written copy of some of the things that we've talked about and even more. Then I know the middle of the whole content of the book is great, but my other favorite part was getting that compilation of all of the websites I could find. And I have read every single book in that appendice. So every one of them, I know, Kent, you read a lot of books, and especially, I mean, across many different topics. I have read every single book in that appendix because I want to share those with everybody else, right? And that's my two favorite parts of this book. I don't like the cover that much, but
I have a favorite. I have
Go
a
ahead.
What's your
favorite
favorite,
part.
JP?
It was the chapter on the Robinsons family, which you say that it's going to be a little bit out of the ordinary. It's not going to be the regular chapter that we saw before and after. And it follows this fictional family based on friends of yours through different countries, different cities. And what I really appreciated and enjoyed was my trip down memory lane reading about their adventures, because as it turns out, I was in most of those cities myself at some point in my career.
imagine
And so
that.
it was like a trip down memory lane. It was talking about the culture and the very specific street names and market names and festivals that you can find in each of those places. And yeah, I enjoyed that chapter for the overview of a world trip that the Robinsons take.
I had to really choose that one. That was an add-in after all the rest of the chapters because I felt it was missing something about like one family changing country to country to country, and I didn't even put any points in that chapter like action points of things that you could do to become an international teacher. It was just like a big share. It's like a big storyline of one family. So I'm glad that you liked that chapter. And the Robinsons, of course, were a family that worked here with us for a number of years. And shout out to Catherine and her family. They are down in Argentina right now at Lincoln. So it's in BA. Great. It was an homage to them, basically, just to include their name. These are not stories about their family specifically, though, like you said, Kent. But yeah, I'm glad you liked that chapter. It was a fun one to write.
So, International Teaching, the Best Kept Secret in Education by our very own Gregory Lemoyne. Go out and buy it at www.amazon.com or wherever you buy your finer
祝你
book.
生日快乐，祝你身体健康，祝你万事如意，祝你发财新年好。
All right, let's take a moment for a little commercial about how to get in touch with us. You can, of course, find all four of us at the itpexpat.com. That's www.itpexpat.com.
Or you could also find us at email at internationalteacherpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Or if you're into Facebook, we have a new Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/ITPexpat, where you can find all kinds of inside information about ITP Expat.
You can also find us on Instagram at ITPXpats. That's with an S. ITPXpats is our handle.
All right, and thank you, listeners. We have over 100 countries represented by our listeners, and though we're not monetized, we are here for you, and we would like to thank all of you for listening. So let's get back to the show. What a great commercial.
JP Mint, it hasn't been a big year just for our co-host Greg Lemoyne. It's also been a big year for JPMintConsulting.com. Could you get us caught up on what's going on at the website?
So I keep getting our anniversary, ITP, confused with my anniversary, which is the exact same date, April 2nd. But I keep saying this is my third year, and it's not. I just did 2 years, but sometimes it feels like 3. But I am celebrating. I'm celebrating
Happy
my
anniversary,
second
JP Mint.
anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you so
Happy
much.
second anniversary.
You know, when I first started this website, and it was a little bit like Greg, where I sat down in front of a computer and I created my website in less than 24 hours, like super focused, had a goal in mind. I created this website thanks to Wix.com, and it's, you know, very easy, user-friendly, because I'm not super techie. But when I was creating that website, I never would have imagined I'd have 2 years under my belt. You know, it was one of those things where I could hope that I was going to still be around in 2 years. And now I have, you know, actually goals in mind of 5, 10 year, maybe even 20 years, who knows. But the exciting for me, part is that my business tripled in my second year. Now, I don't
Nice.
mean just from a financial perspective, although that's, you know, kind of a bonus, but I have helped 3 times the number of people find jobs, or with their CVs or with their cover letters, their interview skills. And that to me is exciting, you know, that I've had that
Congratulations,
much
JP.
more reach. So I do have some stats if you're interested. Would you like to hear
love
some
to hear them.
stats?
I love stats.
Stats.
So in my second year, I was a little bit less wordsy, that I only wrote 10 blog articles as opposed to the 21 in the first year. But in that first year, I was trying to populate my website. If you can imagine, you know, I needed it to
Hang out your shingle,
be
yeah.
a source of information. Yeah. And now I'm really down to like a blog article once a month when a topic kind of comes up on the show, or it comes, you know, from a question from a client, then I'll write a blog article about it. But I am excited to say that those blog articles, those 31 blog articles, have over 18,000 views. So that tells me that it is getting out there. People are sharing them. People are interested in hearing, you know, what I have to say about the particular subjects.
That is
most
fantastic.
popular-
18,000 views. Yes.
I hit those 16,000 times myself, though, just to be brutally honest with you, JP.
You're the one that's doing all the little hearts, is it?
Oh, they're always, you know what you always see before you continue with some of yours, but I always see you on LinkedIn with things, and I hold back. I don't always want to be the guy that's commenting on them. I'm going, yeah, I'm cheering from behind, you know, I'm waiting for other people. But I see them on LinkedIn. There's on Facebook. We have a Facebook group you've been taking care of. You're doing so much behind the scenes and it's not even just ITP. It's JPMint Consulting and a little bit of ITP. It's sort of hard to take them apart now. Right? I just really appreciate that. We're not monetized on this ITP, but it is part of your business to go out there. And the bottom line is you're helping more people. All of these people are being helped by you, and it's exploding for you, isn't it? Like, how many clients are you going to give us? Some clients?
I will get to that. I will get to
Okay.
that. But it's, for me, it's definitely not the money. It's the helping people, getting their best fit for their dream job, you know, like kind of discovering what that is and then helping them. In addition to the blog articles, I also have what is called Tip of the Week, because at first when I created it, I thought, I was going to put a job search tip every week, but that was very pie in the sky. So I have 38 tips. So I'm still in my second
Very
year.
close, though.
Still
Very
not
close, yes.
52. But yes, I've added 12 more tips because
After
they
reading my
are
book.
very few and far between. Exactly. Well, Greg, you were one of the tips. You were one of the tips.
Okay.
You know, meet Gregory Lemoyne.
I've never been a
getting
tip
out
before.
there.
You're a tip now.
Tip off the old block.
And then I also spoke about, so I'm basing my stats on my first year article that I wrote about my 1 year anniversary. So in that, I said that I was on 7 podcast episodes. I was very proud of that. I was on different episodes or different podcasts talking about JPMint. But that number has blown up since I've joined ITP, because now I have 18 ITP podcast episodes under my belt,
Nice.
as well as one on Educators Going Global that was just recently released. So that is exciting. Like my voice is out there.
Great episode. Listen to that. Yes.
We've listened to that, and you go out on other podcasts, and it's really helpful because we're spreading out. We're slowly spreading our wings, and you're doing that on the side as JPMint Consulting, which is totally helpful for people. And those podcasts are lucky to have you.
That's right.
She's not going to leave us, is she,
I-
Kent? She better not leave us.
No. And I've been reaching out to a few more podcasts, and what I'm excited to preemptively announce is that I reached out to a particular podcast without naming them yet, because I want to make sure it happens, about getting a panel of international teacher consultants, because I know of 4, including myself, out there. And I said, wouldn't it be great before this next recruiting season to get the 4 of us who have different niches, we have different specialties, but we're all about helping teachers in international education. So this person that runs the podcast said that they will do their best to reach out, but I said I would also be happy to reach out to these people. So yeah,
Well,
that
as soon
could
as you
happen.
start organizing that, let's get the word out to the IPT crowd. Who are we again? The ITP crowd. And I can't wait to listen to.
Kent, this is the International Teacher Podcast, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong
ITP.
place. I got to go, guys. I'm supposed to be on IPT tonight.
Well, good. I forgot to hit record anyway. So, all right, let's start the episode.
Take 2. Let's get going.
Old joke never
Okay.
gets
That'll
old.
never get
yeah.
old. I
That'll
just love
never
that
get
one.
old.
That'll never get old.
That and Greg's
So
underwear.
you asked for numbers. You wanted to know numbers. I am not open to sharing the number of clients because I don't want people
Okay.
to be daunted by the fact that
Yep.
I'm not going to give them their individual attention, because I
Okay.
will. I'm still, there is no way
That's
I've
fair
grown
enough.
so big that
Yep.
I'm
Totally fair.
farming out anything. So I am 100% still the only person working on each and every client's documents and each and every client's, video calls. But I do have 141 subscribers that are not yet clients. So I'm, giving that plug out there for them. Feel free to join me as a JPMint client. And much as last year, I had 75% of my clients placed. I looked at the numbers today and I'm exactly the same. I have 75% of my
kidding.
clients placed for
Congratulations.
next year.
And it's early in the year.
Now being April, I have April, May, June, July. I have 4 more months to place the other 25% that are still looking to find. And some of those are, again, in like last minute sort of interviews, and they're on the cusp of getting offers.
Would you find a place for Kent? I don't want him here anymore. I
You
want
know,
him out of
my
here.
boss would like to contact you to see if you can place me somewhere.
I'm just kidding, Kent. I don't want you to go ever, Kent. No.
I will say that without divulging too many details, I think 75%, the fact that it's the same as last year, is a real win, because it's in some ways it's a little bit trickier of a year this year than last year. So keep up the good
it's
work,
still
and those
early.
those numbers are still going to go up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with that.
I think, I was a little daunted, to be quite honest, when I started to get a lot more. Tripling my business, tripling my clients means that I had a lot more people to look for and to sort of siphon off the jobs that I was finding into the right people. That this person needs this and this person needs that. So I was a little daunted, and I really thought that number would drop because it required a lot of memory work for me. I have a spreadsheet, but when I'm reading a post in LinkedIn, I need to know immediately who I can send that to, that job opportunity. And I don't want to necessarily go to the spreadsheet each time. And so I was feeling a little pressure this year, but I am really happy now after today, looking at the final numbers and saying, wow, I still hit that 75%, meaning that maybe this tripling of the business is still sustainable. I don't necessarily want to triple my business in my third year, although I'm not against it. I just don't know how much my memory power can work.
Well, you're not working at a school anymore. I can't just like take the day off or, put off work and go have a margarita, but you can. I mean, you can get up at 10 a.m. and go have a margarita and a couple tacos. I can't do that. Kent can't either. Kent and I, we're stuck. We're in our jobs. You retired early. You're the success story. You're doing all this on the side. And I know you don't even promise to place people. You really started out with doing CVs and helping people with interviewing and stuff like that. I'm just amazed. I can't say enough good stuff about that, right?
Not to mention all the people who you just bump into and you give little tips to. They talk to you, and it's almost like being a doctor at a party. They're just, I don't have time to come in the office, but can you just check my elbow out? It's a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not against free advice, for sure. When somebody reaches out to me through my website or my email and says, hey, can you just, quickly answer this question? I'm not going to say, well, please, for the cost of blah, 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 you can have my answer. No, I'm there to help, and it doesn't matter if they pay me or not.
I need some. My elbow hurts right here. Can you do something about that? I need a script.
And just this weekend, I hit a new goal, and that is I am helping my first Mexican teacher go overseas. So
That's
you can't
awesome.
imagine how excited I am.
Congratulations.
You're based
That's
out of
right.
Mexico.
2
For you to
years.
get a Mexican teacher out, that's great.
Yeah, because I meet a lot of Mexican teachers, and I just, some of them are not ready to pull the trigger and go overseas. This one reached out to me and said, I have been dying to go overseas. Can you help me? And I looked at her credentials and I said yes. And so this weekend I took her on as a client, and I'm really excited about her prospects.
That is, I don't want to overwhelm you, but there's probably about 2 million Mexican teachers. So that's one down, 1.99 million to go.
And they're all going to talk to you next week.
At the party.
Or in May, right after the Day of the Dead. Okay, there you go. They're going to line up out your door.
Oh, and I did my first video call completely in Spanish, thanks to her. So, yeah, I mean, she obviously speaks English very, very well. That would be one of sort of the prerequisites to be able to go overseas. As a Spanish teacher, she will need to know English for the meetings and for the parents' conferences and all of that. But I wanted her to feel 100% comfortable in the process. And so I said, if you want, we can do this in Spanish. I can try it at least. And she was like, yes, please. And so I couldn't believe that my Spanish had come along to the point where I could do my video call and my consultation in 100% Spanish. So that was a new personal and professional goal for me.
Well, next year, your goal for growth could be doing it in Yiddish. So we'll get your next Yiddish person, and then Kent can do some in Japanese. You can help him, right?
I think it's good that you're fluent in Spanish, because when Greg and I come to visit, when the authorities reach out to you, so for someone to bail us out, you can handle that.
Get us out of customs. Our new customs story. Here's a new customs or police story.
Live from lockup, it's Greg and Kent.
Little Nokia phone making recording.
Oh my gosh. So that's the news on JPMint.
What's on the horizons? What are you working on? What kind of blog? What's next? What can we look forward to on JPMintConsulting.com?
Well, I know that I promised TikTok last year, and we talked about going to TikTok, but now it seems to me
I do remember that. Yes,
that hurts. It didn't come
it
out,
seems to me that maybe that wasn't quite ready. It could possibly happen this year. It's just a lot of if anybody out there listening has any ideas for me, please send them in to our email address, ITP. What is our email address? internationalteacherpodcast@gmail.com, right?
See. Are you going to do your TikToks in Spanish?
Oh my gosh, no.
Yo hablo español que un gringo.
Not so much. But if somebody has ideas how to do this, I've spoken with a couple of experts out there for free advice, and they've given me some pointers on know your audience. So that's a tick box. I know my audience, but then what niche do I need to? Do I just talk into a camera, or do I go out and have an exciting backdrop, and that's where I'm struggling. Like, what do I actually do in my videos?
You know, I have noticed, I've been watching a lot of these vloggers, and they'll talk into the mirror and the camera. They'll be doing their hair. Have you ever seen this? They're doing their hair in the morning. They're doing their makeup, and they're talking. They're giving their vlog. Maybe you guys haven't seen. It seems to be the new trend. So I might do that when I get up in the morning.
Kent.
When I get up in the morning. I'm turning
When you put on your makeup?
and I'm going to groom. I'll be grooming myself, and I'll talk right into the camera to the ITP crowd. How do you think they would like that?
I'm going to run away right now. Fourth season without Greg.
Well, I look forward to another year of JPMintConsulting.com. Keep up the great work. We're real proud of you over here.
You know,
Thank you
Kent,
so
you can't
much.
get away without giving us a little bit of anything going on with Kent in the future.
What's going on with me in the future? Well, people know that I play the flute, and I've been seeing my teacher who's in Canada. We meet online, and she's a professional flute player who's trained in education. So I've been slowly improving, but my cat does not see the improvement. I'm not positive my wife does either, but I'm going to continue with that. And I don't think I ever have any other big, huge announcements. I'm working on a couple of podcasts to the, we've got a large community where we're at. We got a large expat community, in the tens of thousands. So I've been working on trying to get a podcast that goes a little bit further reach than the one that I've been working on. I've been producing now. The one I produce now, Just to Know You, is pretty much within the walls of our schools here. The next one I want to do takes it maybe to another layer where there's thousands of more people around us.
I love it. Thanks for the update, because we want to
Yeah,
know what
you
you're
bet.
doing too, right?
Yeah, great.
Greg, what about you? What's out on the horizon?
You got another book in you, Greg? What do you got?
I think I'm going to put books off for quite a while. I'm picking up the banjo again. I've got the banjo. I've got the keyboard. I've got the flute duets with Kent.
Yep.
My parents have a 60th anniversary next year, and I'm finally going to go diving again. So I have a lot of other things to do, but I do look forward every weekend to doing the editing for ITP and keeping everybody updated with that. So this is what I look forward to, is our time together on here, and I'm so glad that the three of us got together. Sorry my mom's not here. Matt was traveling to the States tonight, so we couldn't get him on. He wanted to be on this show. But it is a great 3-year anniversary for us.
Happy anniversary, Greg.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary, Jacqueline. Thank
And
you
happy
both. What a great
anniversary,
year it's been.
listeners, right?
And happy
Yes.
anniversary to the ITP crowd. So I think we've done it again, guys. On behalf of JP Mint at jpmintconsulting.com, we want to thank you for spending time with us today. Also, Greg, the single guy, Lemoyne, and his book, International Teaching, the Best Kept Secret in Education, www.amazon.com. Twice in a row. And you can find me in room 402. I'm always, if you're in town, come by and visit. We'll greet you anytime.
But you're not eating
Thank you,
right now
Greg.
because it's Ramadan. You can't eat right
Well,
now. You
and
eat
happy
at home.
Ramadan to all of our Muslim friends.
Ramadan,
of the
everybody.
ITP crowd. Happy
Ramadan Kareem.
Ramadan Kareem. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you, JP. Thank you, Greg. See you all next
Bye,
week.
everybody. That's awesome.
Bye, listeners. Thank you so much for listening for 3 years.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.